What up, my guys? Welcome to another show, Friday NBA Talk with Jay, man. I got my guy, the prop guide over there at Action Network, man. We got our guy Stephen Keech with us, man. If you follow the app and you already know how he does it, one of the best guys over there when it comes to plays. Obviously, it's all free as well, man. My guy Keech, how you doing, my brother? Everything cool with you?
Yeah, doing good, man. Looking forward to the weekend. Getting sad that we're kind of coming to the end of like having a game every day. I was thinking about that last night. Like we're about to be at the point of the year where we're like not getting basketball some days, which sucks. But
Yeah.
It's enjoy it while we have it.
Women's basketball.
That's true. It's true. Summer league before we know it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely got to go to Vegas for Summer League this year for sure, man. But yeah, now WNBA been popping off, man. The WNBA has been popping off. A lot of people don't pay attention to it, but WNBA has been it's been good, man. I'm not gonna lie. But let's get straight to it, man. We're not here to waste the people's time. I got a ton of stuff to do today as well. Obviously, I told people yesterday I do have to fly out to Arkansas today, so unfortunately, I won't even be able to watch this game tonight, my guys. But maybe I'll try to catch some of the game on the plane. Hopefully it's showing the game on the plane. You dig what I'm saying? But let's go over here to the streets of Minnesota in this one. Wolves laying 5.5 points at the house versus the Mavs. Home favor here is down 0-1. Y'all know me. The only way that I can look at this game is Wolves first quarter, first half, full game. It's the only way. Now, I'm not gonna lie. The Mavs do have some matchup advantages here. They're putting Gobert in the pick and roll every single time and having plenty of success there, mainly because Gobert has to do drop coverage there. So this is a scary game. Hopefully the Mavs don't do like the Wolves did to the Nuggets out and went out there and remember I was on the Nuggets, went to that game and everything, and the Wolves went out there and smoked them and took a very surprising 2-0 series lead on the road there. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not sure if the Mavs can do that. The Wolves are still a great team, and obviously if you like the Wolves to win the series or think that they're going to win the series, you have to take them in this game. I still think they get it done. It's the only way that I could look. It would be very surprising if the Mavs won this second game straight up as well. But another thing, Keith, like you got to keep it real with yourselves. The Mavs shot like 6 of 24 from 3 in that first game and still won the game. Like that scares the hell out of me there. See what I'm saying? Because what happens when they shoot a lot better from 3? Then what the Wolves gonna do, man? We know the Mavs have the better offense in the series. And the Wolves have the much better defense as well, but with Gobert and drop coverage, Jay McDaniels had the game of his life as well, Keith. So what do we see in this one? We know that Anthony Edwards is going to try to have a much better game. He says he needs to get downhill, attack these guys in the paint, a couple quick early fouls on Gafford or Lively, and then it could be all she wrote for the Mavs in this particular game. How you looking at this game, my brother?
So, gun to my head, if I had to pick a side, I think I'd still go with Dallas, even given what you said with like kind of Minnesota back against the wall. There's just, I feel like on both sides, there's matchup issues that like I can't really wrap my head around like what the other team is going to do to kind of stop it. We saw like I kind of thought Dallas not having a guy like Maxi Kleber in this matchup would be a little bit of an issue to kind of help be able to stretch the floor. Didn't really look like that was much of a problem. I'm still like, it's mind blowing how the plus minus between like Gafford and Lively has gone in this first game and in the Oklahoma City series. Like Lively has just been miles better in terms of like how the Mavericks have produced when he's been on the floor relative to Gafford. I'm kind of curious if like we might see the minutes for Lively creep up a little bit and the minutes for Gafford creep down. It doesn't seem like they have any interest in really like doing that. Like I think like 17, 18 minutes is probably a floor for Gafford playing time. And I'd be kind of a little bit worried about playing any of his unders. I think if you want to like target him not playing as much, maybe Lively overs are a better way to do it. Also kind of curious.
My guy in the chat already on it. He like Lively PRA over his 16. He already on it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he played like 28 minutes. Wouldn't be much of a I think he was 25 in the last game. They've kind of been like almost an even split, but he's been getting a little bit more of the pie. I think we could potentially see a little bit more Jaden Hardy if the game, like we saw, pretty much max minutes from a lot of the Mavs starters. We also saw 3 minutes of Dante Exum, who looked bad in those 3 minutes. So I don't think that's happening again.
Man, Hardaway trash ass. Hardaway came in that motherfucker. When he was on the bench, I saw Hardy come in first. And so I'm like, I hope Hardaway doesn't even come in the game. Because I know if he comes in the game, he's like, obviously like when he doesn't play at all, they have to refund his props. But when he comes in, I'm like, I know this motherfucker finna come in and not do shit, man. And then he subs in the game. I'm like, come on, bro. Because I know that since he wasn't like the first sub, he was just gonna be pissed off and disgruntled. But Hardy didn't do that well as well. You see what I'm saying? So they gotta, which one of those bench guys are gonna do well? Exum, it's gotta be. They have a slim bench. It's Josh Green, Josh Hardy. It's Josh Green. You got Hardy, then you got Tim Hardaway Jr., then you got Exum. So one of those guys are going to have to give them some production. You can't rely on the whole starting five, because what happens when one of them get a couple quick early fouls? And we know that Kyrie is an older player as well. He can't continue to play those minutes as well. So obviously it was a really important game one, but that's all the more reason why I feel like sometimes you will notice like a team kind of like take their foot off the gas, like, or just kind of exhale, like, okay, we got the game one. If they start getting blown out here, you will see Kyrie will probably be one of the first ones to rest here. Keech, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think like it's kind of interesting. So in that first game, like I feel like we saw more or less a ceiling for playing time for PJ Washington and Derrick Jones Jr. Like they both played a lot. Derrick Jones Jr. maybe could play a little bit more. PJ was at 40 minutes. They're both going to be like in constant like potential foul trouble, like just given the roles that they're playing defensively. I would be shocked if we went like another game or two where one of them didn't have their minutes kind of cut as a result of just being in foul trouble. I feel like you alluded to how thin their bench is. I feel like Josh Green is probably the guy who would benefit the most from that happening. So I do think like his overs, even like maybe like a 3-point all over or something is interesting. The thing there would be like, you're expecting more playing time for him. Like if he played 20 minutes, 22, 23 minutes in a game where one of them was in foul trouble, wouldn't be at all surprising. He was about like 12 or 13 minutes in game one. So the other thing in this game that I do like, and it is very scary, is Kyrie under. I played that under 23.5 points, projecting like exactly 21. So I do think the under 22.5 at even money or better is fine, which I think is out there now. We saw like an aggressive Kyrie in the beginning of that game, which was kind of the polar opposite of what we've seen in the playoffs, especially in that Oklahoma City series. It seemed like he just like was kind of hanging out the first half, and then when they needed him to get going, he'd get going. Like especially in the fourth quarter, but in that game one, it was kind of the opposite. He looked pretty aggressive, wasn't forcing anything, but when they weren't trapping him or doubling pretty quick, he was taking advantage of it. We saw in the second half that kind of chill out a little bit. He wasn't as active as a scorer, wasn't getting the shot up. So I think the 23.5 points to like 130 is good. I think the under 22.5 at even money is fine. I do think that Minnesota will throw some more things at him than we saw in that last game. I think they'll make it a little bit tougher for him, especially than it was in the first half.
Yeah, no, it's a fact there. Yeah, definitely couldn't talk you off Kyrie on his points. Like I say, I mean, obviously he went off in game one. We hadn't seen him. That's the best game he's had in the playoffs so far. You see what I'm saying? But he did was like, okay, and that's why you don't talk shit right there. And that's why, you know what I'm saying? You fuck around and then you might find out. Anthony, okay, you can't be talking that I got Kyrie even after game 7. Like, just be quiet. Like, obviously Ant's a younger guy, and we know he loves to talk, but Kyrie is like, he's one of those guys, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't just be coming out, say, if anything, tell your team, I got Kyrie. You can't be coming out on that TV and say, I'm finna lock his ass up. Kyrie, okay. You finna lock me up? We finna see about that. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's not a bad look there. I do know that obviously Luka has a great match. I mean, if Jaden McDaniels can't stop Luka, we know that he has the size and the length, but he doesn't necessarily have the poundage. You see what I'm saying? No homo right there. But he doesn't have. He's like 109. He's like a $190, $195. So Luka, which he is kind of pushing off a little bit. So I always tell people, man, the game's gonna go how it's read. Like, what if they start to call the push off for Luka? They weren't calling it for SGA. You see what I'm saying? But a few times they were. So it's all about. Are they going to? Because Luka pushed off like a clear push off a few times, creating that space. But if Jaden McDaniels can't stop Luka, I'm not sure who else they'd be able to put on him, and it'd be a lone series. But if this is supposed to be a lone series, in my opinion, I think the Wolves are going to get the foul calls tonight. And if Luka's not getting the foul calls, y'all know how he is. He gets his whole game is fucked up. If he's not getting the foul calls, or he gets mad when his teammates aren't getting the foul calls. You know what I'm saying? Like, he gets bothered even his teammates not getting the foul call. So I expect the Wolves to get the calls tonight. And if the Mavs aren't, they're going to be disgruntled. And there's like, you know what? We're down 1-1. Let's try and go win both games in Dallas. I hope the Mavs do win this game. I mean, do lose this game. That way I could put some more on them to win this, to win the series in this one. And hopefully it goes down to like minus 120. So I'm saying, but hopefully the Wolves win like in a blowout. You know what I'm saying? And then people was like, oh, okay, yeah, now we back on the Wolves now to win this series. But we'll see what happens, man. I hadn't even looked at who the refs are yet, because I know that it's Wolves or nothing for me in this particular game. Now, something interesting, Anthony Edwards did say we were tired in the game one. So if you're tired in game one and you had 2 days off of rest, you see what I'm saying? I don't like that for the rest of the series, because remember, they put their all into putting out the champs in the 7-game series as well. So I don't like that for the longevity of this series. If you are tired in game one, that means this series is gonna put even more wear and tear on your ass as well. But for this game specifically, personally, I think the Wolves get the calls. Shout out to Shane in the chat. He likes Nas over 10.5 points. Once again, he's a matchup nightmare for the Mavs over there. Without Kleber, like you said, Keech, they don't have anybody that can stay on the perimeter and guard him on the perimeter and inside as well. And like I say, that was a good look by you as well, Keech. Lively is going to play a few more minutes here because he's more effective than Daniel Gafford in this series there. So just hope for not a couple quick early fouls. But Nas over his points and rebounds, over his PRA. What do you think, Keech? What are you projecting on that? Do you think Nas Reed will have another good game? I believe he had 15 points in the first game. I think Nas Reed is just an absolute matchup nightmare. He hit 3 threes versus him. He only played 24 minutes, 3 threes, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 15 points. He smashed his props in that game.
So I'm projecting 11.24 points. I almost played his points over in the first game. I didn't end up. The only thing I fired on was the Kyrie rebounds. But yeah, I think Nas, he's a matchup problem for them for sure. Like, given what you said, they don't really have a Kleber type who could stretch the floor and kind of stick out on the perimeter with him. He was getting matched up on some smaller guys at times and taking advantage of that, or at least being aggressive with that, which is good. I think the one tough thing is they're going to obviously keep, Rudy out there, I think as long as they can, 35, 36 minutes, something like that. With Cat, the potential for foul trouble is there depending on how they use him defensively. And that would obviously be an avenue for Nas. I am a little concerned for Nas matching his playing time from game one, just because I think they could potentially use more Kyle Anderson. He was kind of completely useless in that Oklahoma City series, but in this particular matchup where they're playing a little bit slower and they have a guy like Luka, dominant on-ball guy, who he actually can Anderson can actually kind of stay with a little bit. He's more of an option here than he was in the last series, and he can play the 4, can even play
Keech, I think Kyle Anderson is. I mean, I'm not gonna hate on the guy. He in the NBA getting paid millions, and I mean, he's not horrible, but I would play Nas Reed over Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson is ass. You know what I'm saying?
No arguments from me. Yeah, I'm not a big slow-mo guy myself. I think
he can get some minutes.
Useful rookies. Yeah, he's useful.
He gets some minutes, but I don't know about playing him more than Nas Reed. That's all I'm saying. Because if the coach was smart, they would realize, all right, Nas Reed is a matchup nightmare for the Mavs. Mavs have 2 bigs. The Wolves have 3. Nas Reed is he could legitimately play center. You know what I'm saying? Especially in today's game, with the way he stretches the floor, he plays a lot faster than Slow-mo's like a fucking snail out there, bro. But I mean, he could definitely take some of his minutes. But that would be bad for the Wolves, in my opinion. I think they have to play Nas Reed even more. Even if you want to play Nas Reed at the 5 and then play Kyle Anderson at the 3 or the 4, you could do it. Because maybe even Anderson at the 3 would give them a huge size advantage, right? But you can't play Nas Reed less, not if you want to win this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I still think Reed will play more than Anderson. I just think there's a chance that Reed ends up in the low 20s or 20 minutes relative to mid 20s, something like that. Okay. Where I think Anderson could end up coming close to 20. They kind of just played Naw behind Conley, in those 9 final minutes. They weren't really using him in any other role. That was a little bit different than the prior series, which opens up time for Nas and Anderson. I'm kind of curious if Conley if they kind of take it easy on him a little bit. This is the Western Conference Finals, so there's really not time to be taking it easy on guys. But he has been used fairly heavily, and I don't think that they want to burn him out completely. So that, I think, if I'm looking in any Minnesota unders, he'd be a guy in a few areas where I'd be interested in. But this is a tough series, man. It's really tough from a betting perspective. I've looked at this for way too long with really nothing that I like that much. It's kind of unfortunate.
I try to tell people, man, when it gets up to this point, I do think the props are the way to go here. Like I feel like when these games get even tougher, you can like find some props. Like watch game one, you see the matchups. Like I'm talking about Nas Reed. Like we're talking about, obviously Jay McDaniels had the game of his life as well. But I think one player on the Wolves that has to ball out here. I know a lot of people look towards Anthony Edwards. I think Karl-Anthony Towns has to go crazy here. Specifically, like when in his starter minutes, when the Mavs only have one big out there and they got Cat and Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns has to go crazy here. So whether it's hitting threes on the perimeter, whether it's him and Gobert kind of like two-man game, Karl-Anthony Towns has to go for at least 20 points if the game if the Wolves want to have a chance to win this game. And I think he does. That's my last question here to you, Keech. What do you think about some Karl-Anthony Towns props in this game? Because I think like it's imperative. He has to go crazy in this game, at least 20, 21 points if they want to have a chance to win this game. Because Jay McDaniels is going to continue to do that. But I think Ant has a lot better game, but mainly Karl-Anthony Towns has that. You think you're the best big man shooter ever? You're going to have to show us, Keech. What do you think for Cat tonight?
So I'm at 21.15 points, so a little bit above where the market's at. But just aside from that, I think this is an excellent matchup for Cat. Like they don't really have an answer for him, especially like you said with the first unit. They don't have an answer. Period. Like I feel like there's a couple situations like that for Minnesota and the advantage of Minnesota where like it's kind of tough for Dallas to match up. They didn't take advantage of it at all. It seemed like, especially in the early part of that game, Cat was like didn't do much. It wasn't really until the second half where he like kind of started to seem like look for his shot. I mean, I get it like with how Ant is running and like if there's things, I think they like got like Rudy involved a little bit in the early going. If that's working fine, but Cat like you said, just given the fact that they don't have a good matchup for him. And I think if he's having success, it puts pressure on the entire rest of that defense to like kind of help a little bit. Like they just didn't have to really do that. So if you're having to kind of pay extra attention to Ant and pay a little bit extra attention to Cat, like I think Minnesota can get that Dallas defense moving a lot and get them uncomfortable. So I think him having a big game would be huge for Minnesota. Their chances of winning the game. So I think, if you can get over 19.5, what is it, 20.5 everywhere pretty much for him right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I would expect for sure to see his volume in the early part of the game tick up compared to game one for sure. So I think even like first half points could be an interesting one.
Okay, yeah. Now I didn't even think about that. What is first half points? Can you see? I didn't even know that you could do like first quarter and first half points until this year. But that's a definitely great point there. But let's just recap all the looks, man. Once we get out, I know me personally. I know the team down. It's a spot that doesn't always hit, but it's the only way I could look. Obviously, everybody's on the Wolves, but I do expect them to get the calls today. And if they're getting the calls and they're not getting called for fouls on the other end, that's when the Wolves are allowed to really like play their games. You know what I'm saying? And with one of those guys in there, man, with the riffing crew, I do expect them to try, because if the Mavs go up 2-0 here, this will probably be a short series. You see what I'm saying? With it already looking like in the Eastern Conference Finals, it's probably going to be a short series. I expect this one to go at least 6 games, man. So if that's going to happen, that means the Wolves win today. And if they win, they're probably going to win by double digits. I expect a couple, y'all know I'm a Mavs fan. I expect a couple quick early fouls on either Luka, Gafford, Lively when he comes in there. I expect a couple of quick early fouls, and that's going to change the whole fucking game over there. Obviously, it scares you that Jay McDaniels was the best offensive player for the Wolves in the first game, but and say they were tired. They know that they're at the house. They're down 0-1. This is an all-in spot for the Wolves here. I lean their way first quarter, first half, and full game. If I'm looking at some props, I do think Karl-Anthony Towns has a lot better game offensively. I'd lean towards over his points. Ant says he needs to get downhill. I don't know if he's going to go for 30, but I do expect him to draw some fouls in this game and try to get to the basket in this one. So I feel like Karl-Anthony Towns would probably be the better one, but couldn't talk you off some ant points as well. Nas Reed will continue to be an absolute matchup nightmare for the Mavs as well. So would only be looking towards Wolves props today. I think they get the foul calls. I think they get back going offensively in this one, and I do think that they win this game and tie it up 1-1 here, Keech. What are your best looks for today, or any leans, whatever you're projecting, anything that we talked about that you lean for today's game, and you can give out some for tomorrow's game if you like as well.
Yeah, tomorrow's game, that's where I kind of want to go. Just to touch on the Cat thing briefly, First quarter points is 5.5. I do think it's interesting. I need to look at his rotation in the first quarter. I don't know off the top of my head like what that looked like. If you're betting first quarter props, it's a huge thing to keep in mind. It's like how many minutes this guy playing. So I'm going to look into that. I've already logged Kyrie under 23.5 points in the app. I would play that down to plus 100 at 22.5. The thing I like the most, though, is for tomorrow. If you follow me on the app, you've already probably played this at least once in the series. Doing it once again after a torturous overtime loss in game 1, but it got home in game 2. Miles Turner under 1.5 blocks. I think the best number is plus 120 on DraftKings right now. That's where I bet it before the show started. Boston is just like the worst possible matchup for block shots. Dallas is actually a really bad one as well. But the Rudy Gobert blocks is not in a range where I think there's any value on that under. But Miles Turner, just his defensive role in this series, he is generally following the big around. And if it's Al Horford, not very involved in the offense, same with Luke Cornett. Boston just shoots a lot of jump shots. Jason Tatum, Jason Brown take a lot of shots. That's not really, unless they're shooting around the rim, that's not an area where they're going to see any Miles Turner. I think Turner got lucky to go over that in game 1. He did it in overtime on kind of like a play where like wasn't even really a shot attempt by Brown, but he just kind of ripped through when Turner got the block just by smacking down on the ball. But yeah, I just think Boston is a brutal matchup for recording blocks. So as long as they got this at plus money and the under 1.5, I will keep riding as hard as I can.
Yeah, I'll ride with you on that. Turner, he ain't one of those guys that bang down there anyway. You go with Isaiah Jackson blocks or something like that rather than going with Miles Turner blocks. So under 1.5 at plus money, I think that's a really great look. He had 0 in last night's game as well, man. So really great info from our guy Keech, man. Y'all make sure y'all go follow him on the Action Network app. You can follow him on Twitter as well. It's all free picks as well, my guys. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. I do think it's I'm gonna go ahead and I do think it's a Wolves spot today, my guys. Everybody's on them, but I do think that you see like some I just keep people straight. I think you see some corruption probably in this game, man. But obviously, I always keep it real with y'all. Mavs shot horribly from 3 in game 1. If they do shoot a lot better or go crazy from 3, like it's going to be really tough to beat them. They do have some matchup advantages here, especially putting Gobert in the pick and roll every single time. But I do think if they kind of swap out Nas Reed with Gobert and like for a large part of this game, that could be the recipe to success for there. Then the Mavs counter that game 3 at the house, man. So Wolves are nothing for me. I know everybody's on them. It's the only way that I could look. If this is going to be a long series, then that means that the Wolves probably win today, my guys. But best of luck, whatever you're betting. Always go with your gut. Obviously, we saw game 1. We saw what happened with Elwin. If you feel like the Mavs finna go up 2-0, hey, go with your gut, man. This is the Western Conference Finals. Shit is tough as hell right now, my guys. But I will be traveling this weekend. I'll try my best to do a show either tomorrow or Sunday. But I can't say, guys, if I don't happen to make it, I got a lot of shit going on right now. We'll be traveling, so I might not be able to do a show Saturday or Sunday. I will be back by Monday for sure, my guys. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in. It's all love. Hit the like button one time for the one time if you like the show. If you appreciate the info as well, go follow Keech on the Action Network app. It's all love. Hope y'all have a great day, great weekend. Let's get this cash, my guys. Let's go.